Hello, Global Theater. My name is Jerry Fielka. Today's August 6, 2025. Want to thank Rob Grant and his amazing podcast, I'm Probably Wrong About Everything. Please subscribe. Also want to thank James Joyce for introducing me to today's guest, Peter Quadrino. Where are you calling from, Peter?
I'm in Staten Island, New York right now.
How cool is that? We did an interview 2016. That's about 9 years ago. First question is, what's the best thing for a human being?
Best thing for a human being, water.
I like that. No one ever says water, man. I love that. What's your favorite form of information? How it comes into you?
Definitely words, mostly written word, but I also love hip hop music and really lyrical, wordy hip hop music. But yeah, I mean, I'm a big reader, and I love books, love the written word. So yeah,
Did
words.
you? Yeah, did you? I love that you said that. Did you become a reader because one, your parents told you to, two, they did it as an example, or three, on your own?
I would say I became a reader on my own because I learned how to read in school, and we had to, mandatory readings for school and all that, but I was never actually really interested in it. And then at some point when I was in my late teens, kind of maybe right around college age, I kind of developed the habit of reading things I'm interested in. And I realized like I'm pretty good at getting through books quickly and reading comprehension and all that. So I really developed a habit of reading a lot. And I think I became kind of like a autodidact, just trying to like teach myself stuff through reading. Um, like I went to school for accounting and I got like a business degree, but I always had all these other interests. And then after college, I wanted to go back to school for like literature, writing, that kind of stuff. And I did visit some grad schools, but I didn't end up going. But one of the schools I went to, I ended up like they gave me the curriculum, so I just read all the books on the curriculum myself, and I kind of just carried on that habit of just, if I want to learn something, I just will read about it and teach myself.
Wow. What grad school gave you the curriculum?
It was called something like, this is in San Francisco. I think it's California Institute of Integral Studies.
Wow. So why do you think humans collect or gather information?
Collect or gather information. I guess it differs from person to person. Or I know sometimes when you ask this question, it's like it's kind of like an anthropomorphic history, archaeology type thing. Like why did the cave people start gathering information?
Yeah, Peter, the great thing about it is people don't know. You're one of the only people who listens to my interviews
Right.
and gives me feedback, and that's what's important. But, it's again, we're up against, I've done 1,000 interviews in 40 years. You've listened to whatever, a handful, and we can't erase what these other people have said because, most people say survival and curiosity. Right. They say those two words, survival and curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm what I'm after is these are just prompts to say whatever you want. You don't have to answer.
Oh, yeah, I know.
You know that. You've heard that too a million times.
Yes.
You're like the great line you whispered to Peter at the Venice Library. Oh, we're going through Jerry's greatest hits. Greatest hits. I appreciated that, because I'm going to do it again this Saturday, and you're not going to be there. I'm going to miss you. But anyways, besides, let's just take it further. Besides curiosity and survival, why would humans collect information?
Yeah, understanding, to try to understand things.
Yeah. And so is this need or want to collect information more innate or more invented?
innate or more invented. I guess it's innate, something that's kind of part of our DNA. You know, our DNA is information that we've gathered from our predecessors, and so that's probably innate. And then, you know, we innately pass down these habits to the next generation as well.
Yeah. See, that's an interesting one too, Peter, because again, it's like me and you psychoanalyzing each question and the wording. Almost 99.9% people go, it's innate. No, in most of my questions, there's a lot that do it 80% one way, but there's always like 10% that do it the other way. But this is the one that almost is 99.9. Everybody says innate. So it's really, I kind of want to say, I need to reword that or pose it differently. But it's like this one. How do you explain your longevity? Just a side one. More DNA or more lifestyle choice? I know it's both and it depends. But if you had a hunch a little, is your longevity in your life going to be a little more DNA or a little more lifestyle choice?
When you say longevity, you mean like living for a long time, or like career?
Yeah, or just living as long as you have. I mean, you know, I mean, it's you can put it in context of you or your parents or anybody in your family, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's for me, it would probably be more inherited, just because like my grandmother lived to 101.
Yeah.
My dad is 89 and he's like very sharp still. So seems that we have those genes. And also, yeah, as far as habits, like I just turned 40 and I mostly have pretty healthy habits, I think.
Yeah. By choice.
By choice. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, do thoughts create emotions?
Yeah, they certainly can. Absolutely. Yeah. Whatever is in your brain, whether it's a thought that's occurring to you or something you're observing, it's absolutely can create emotions.
Fill in the blank. I don't know what I think until I
write by hand a lot. Like even if I'm at work, I have a notebook where I'm jotting things down. I have journals where I'm always jotting things down, and like anything I write is usually developed first in like rough notes and just trying to figure out my thoughts, really.
And you use pen, it doesn't matter, ink,
Pen.
ballpoint,
A good pen.
pen.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean a ballpoint pen?
Yeah, I need a good pen with, you know,
yeah,
good ink.
Yeah. And, you know, Joan Didion says, I don't know what I think until I write it. McLuhan says, I don't know what I think until I say it. But a lot of people say, I don't know what I think until I experience it, do it, some sort of action.
Right.
Can humans think without language?
Yeah, because you could envision pictures. You can envision somebody's face. You can envision a landscape, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely think so.
Chomsky says language is not just words. It's a culture, a tradition, a unification of community, a whole history that creates what a community is. What do you do when language doesn't work? When language breaks down, what do you do?
When language breaks down, I guess silence.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like I kind of have a big family. I got 3 brothers and 2 sisters, and I can remember a lot of dinner table, you know, arguments and things like that. And yeah, at a certain point, it's just you're not going to convince somebody, or you know, the message isn't getting across, and you might as well just enjoy the silence.
Wow. And where are you in the middle? Older or young?
Second youngest.
Second youngest?
Yeah.
Your observations of humans in general, are we more feeling beings or more thinking beings?
Definitely more feeling beings. Yeah. I mean, the current conditions of our country and our, disastrous federal government and millions of people willingly voting for a numbskull just shows like critical thinking is not very common, especially in our country. It's just feeling. It's just like, and we're dominated by feelings like love and hate and everything in between,
Yeah, it's interesting because Bridget Bardot says, when I make love, I don't think. And it's like, good luck. How do you turn your brain off? And people who meditate go, now think about not thinking. And there's a bumper sticker on a car on my street. It says, don't believe everything you think. And I say, well, you could say, don't believe everything you feel. So, any ideas on that? Because isn't thinking and feeling so connected, you can't really separate them?
Well, thinking is more of a trying to come up with words for things, like trying to come up with words for sensations.
Yeah.
And what you're describing, it's making me think of things like Zen koans or like Finnegan's Wake.
Yeah.
Where it kind of breaks the stream of your rational thinking.
Yeah.
And so it kind of just shuts your brain off for you, not in a bad way, but so like Joyce in Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man, he has these like aesthetic theories that he talks about. And part of his theory for like what constitutes genuine art is that it's not drawing you in, it's not horrifying you to make you want to retract from it. It's just leaving you there in an aesthetic arrest, like you're just kind of stuck in contemplation. It's like if you're in a museum and looking at an amazing painting, rather than like be zooming in on it and trying to see like, oh, what's that? That's really pretty. Or like, oh, that's horrible. I don't want to look at that. It's like you're just frozen there, and you don't have the words or the processing to come up with a description for what the feeling you're having is or what you're experiencing. It's just an aesthetic arrest.
I love that aesthetic arrest. I have a joke because Barney Fife in Andy Griffith's show goes, citizens arrest, citizens arrest. I go, I have him saying aesthetic arrest, aesthetic arrest. but just off, we're going to get into Joyce, but just off the top of your head, is reading Finnegan's Wake out loud with a group of people more feeling or more thinking?
Wow, good question. I think everybody probably begins their answers with "I think," right?
This is the thing. I think we're more feeling beings. That's what literally 90% of people say.
Yeah, when we do the reading groups in the beginning, when we're reading out loud, it's more of a feeling thing.
Yeah,
because you're just hearing these really mysterious sounds, and really complex, obscure words.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's a feeling thing. And at the end of it, once we've already studied it, unpacked it, and connected some associations with each of the words, then it's a thinking thing. And then it kind of really opens up the text, as you know.
Yeah. Really good. 2 from Alan Turing in the 50s. 1, is thinking a function of the soul?
Wow. Is thinking a function of the soul? Wow. I would say probably not, because there's people that have souls and they never really think very much. But it is a way of reflecting. There's this in some philosophies or mythologies, there's this idea that like God created the universe in order to like observe himself, like the universe is the ears and eyes of God. It's like God needed some kind of other entities in order to reflect his own entity.
That's very interesting. So the second Turing question is, can machines think?
I would say no. They could calculate, they can compute. I think what they're doing is more of like a mathematical thing than thinking, because they're not coming up with anything new. Usually it's you're feeding them some points of information, and they're taking that to then compute and think and calculate.
I really appreciate all your blogs, especially on Finnegan's Wake. You're up there with Peter Crisp as the best contemporary writers on the Wake.
Thank you.
And I'm curious, do you ever use AI just to get another point of view when you're writing?
So, I mean, AI is pretty new, and I've been writing about the Wake probably since like 2012.
Yeah.
I was thinking recently, like, good thing I got a lot of my writing out of the way before AI, so people wouldn't say, oh, yeah, that's just AI. As far as using it, I've used ChatGPT a few times to like spell check, word count, stuff like that, but it actually will fail. And it'll make really weird mistakes. Like I'll ask it for a word count, and it'll give me a number, and then I'll put it into a different like word count app, and it'll give me a different number. And then I'll say, why did you get the number wrong? And oh, sorry, my mistake. Like they don't have an explanation for it. So it makes really weird mistakes. So I don't usually trust it when I'm working with like a big piece. But sometimes, if I need to, I don't know, generate an idea or something, I might put a paragraph in there and ask for something. Or
you've dabbled a little in it.
Yeah.
Do you more pursue happiness or more pursue meaning?
It's pretty close for me, because meaning, like as somebody who's constantly like reading and researching and trying to figure out what things mean, meaning makes me happy, and uncovering meaning makes me happy. But also I do enjoy simple pleasures as well that don't have much meaning. So I would say more meaning. But yeah, I pursue happiness as well.
I got it from Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. He says, happiness doesn't tend to last, meaning tends to last. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think it's true. I mean, your feelings are fleeting. Like you can be happy right now and go to sleep and wake up. Maybe you had a nightmare, or maybe you wake up to some bad news and you're not going to be happy anymore. But with meaning, yeah, it's like, especially with things like Finnegan's Wake and Joyce and all that, it's like it's always something you carry with you and can keep coming back to and returning and adding on to.
Exactly. It's a living organism. So does the brain more detect consciousness or create it? Like, is consciousness there bubbling away and we're more so detecting it or more so creating it?
So I will mention now that, because we've done this interview once before, some of these questions I am going to basically give the same answer.
Oh, that's fine.
Because I've thought for a while that our brains are like antennas that are kind of tuning into consciousness rather than creating it, or maybe it's some combination thereof. But I think we're more our brains are more tuning into consciousness than we are creating it.
What's faster, speed of light or speed of thought?
I think they're pretty close because thinking is a process of electrons and electricity in your brain, which is the speed of light. But for that process to happen and then come up with a representation of what's going on inside of your brain probably takes a little bit longer than it takes for the speed of light to travel.
Yeah. Audre Lorde, the poet, said, you can't dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. Her colleague Yvonne Rainer said, oh, you can if you expose the tools. What new tool do you suggest? And it doesn't have to be tangible.
Let's pass on this one.
Okay. What new toy or what toy do you gravitate towards?
I mean, it's a pretty simple answer because I like video games. So I play PlayStation 5.
That's good.
Yeah.
But back to tool, wouldn't you say that's your second answer of the whole interview? Your main tool is words.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. What do you worry about when you go to bed at night?
Wow. Well, it kind of depends what's going on in life, I guess. But for the last, as you probably know, for the last 3 or 4 years, I've just been traveling like crazy. I had a house in Austin and got rid of it, and I've just been traveling, and I stay with family when I'm not traveling. So I definitely worry sometimes about trying to settle back down and go through the process of getting a house. I'm pretty worried about our country right now, and that it's rapidly turning into a authoritarian police state. There's a criminal felon that's in charge of things, and he is perfectly willing to send in the military to beat up citizens if they don't agree with him or whatever the hell. So yeah, I worry about the state of the world. I worry about when or if I'll ever be able to settle back down in life again, or if I'll just have to keep traveling and things like that. Yeah.
Nomadic is kind of a cool state to be in. Do you like the nomadic lifestyle though?
So the last couple years, what we've done, my girlfriend and I, is the first 6 months, 7 months of the year we travel like crazy. We were in Asia for 3 months last year, and then I was in Scotland, I was in South America, and then this year again, traveled all over this country. We were back in Asia. We went to Vietnam for a while, and we were just in Alaska, in the Pacific Northwest, and now finally we're back here in the Northeast, and we're going to chill for a while. This is kind of working for me, where we travel a lot in the beginning, and then the rest of the year settle in.
Yeah.
The nomadic life is really exciting, really fun, and constantly experiencing new things. But for me, what I'm finding is I need to reflect on things. I need to really digest the experiences I have, especially these once in a lifetime, just mind blowing, incredible experiences. I have these, and then I just go on to the next one.
Yeah.
So I'm finding for a while, I'm really craving to sit down and write the story of Vietnam, or the story of when we were in Thailand, or even traveling around this country, the stories from that too. So the nomadic life is amazing, but it for me it's lacking reflection right now.
Yeah, it's really good, Peter, because I bring it up constantly. We put on all these meetings about Joyce or events. Then really what you need is a meeting after the meeting to review what happened in the meeting.
Right. Definitely.
It's just whoosh. It just goes by, and it's wait a minute, let's have another meeting to reflect on that meeting.
Yeah, I always find with the wake meetings that it picks up momentum throughout the discussion because all the people there, everyone's starting to understand it. This all starting to make sense, and then at the end we read it and it really makes sense, and then the meeting is over.
Yeah,
and then I'm still thinking about everybody's different viewpoints and opinions, and I'm looking at the page, and I just want to start the meeting again and start pointing things out.
Yeah. I found about the last 2 or 3 Venice wakes is I have the page read again by 3 people about 15 minutes before the ending. So then we got another 10 minutes. Okay, what now did you see? And some amazing things come up. Because so instead of just reading the page again and then leaving, give a gap there to review what you just. So McLuhan learned from Pound that artists are the antenna of the race. They're broadcasting and detecting the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, so we might learn how to cope with what we don't like about our inventions. So, Peter, I asked you the question Marshall probed his whole career. Why do we ignore the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, even though the artists are broadcasting them to us?
I think it's all about like sensitivity. Like artists are very sensitive to things.
Yeah.
And they're noticing things that the average person is not noticing. And things are standing out to an artist that don't stand out to other people. And so that's what they're going to usually document and bring into their work. And then the people that are consuming the art, only a small percentage of them have a similar sensitivity to realize what's in the art. You know what I mean? I think
but is that a sensitivity training session? Is Joyce trying to teach us how to be more sensitive, or McLuhan? Or is it just like the whole point? Some people go, no, the whole point is they make art so you won't get it. No.
Okay. So first of all, you said I've listened to these interviews, which I do, especially the one I love with John Bishop, the great Joyce scholar who passed away in 2020. But he was saying something about how like art, the purpose of art is to teach you how to see.
Yeah.
It's to enhance your sensitivity so that rather than going around throughout the world kind of numb to everything and everything seems the same, everything seems mundane, you recognize details, you recognize intricacy, you recognize uniqueness where you otherwise would not. And with guys like Joyce and linguistic creativity, it's often trying to defamiliarize language for you.
Yeah.
And the purpose of that is to then see things or hear things and read things differently. One other thing I want to say about this. So there was on the NYC Wake email list recently, there was the discussion. Somebody shared this really interesting article from years ago. It was like an article in the New Yorker using like Finnegan's Wake language to talk about baseball and being at a baseball game.
Yeah.
And I was looking up the author of that article. His name is Kenneth Lash, and really interesting guy. He passed away, I think, in 1985. And there was a mention about this college course that he was teaching at some point, which was an art appreciation course. And one of the things he did to try to enhance people's sensitivity, defamiliarize, was he gave everyone in the class a lemon and told them to memorize and study your lemon and memorize all the little intricacies of that lemon.
Yeah.
And then the next day they would like mix them up, and then everybody has to try to find their lemon.
Wow.
And the purpose of it is to make you see details that you don't usually see. And apparently that works.
Amazing. You got to see Hollis Frampton, one of the great experimental filmmakers, made a film about, he's got the oldest footage of Finnegan's Wake ever, where the guy's in the coffin. It's 100 years old footage. It's called Gloria. It's on YouTube. You got to see it. But he made a film of a lemon for like 8 minutes. And it's just like this super, nothing really happens, but there's maybe a little light change or something. It's really funny. I wonder if, you know, those, they're probably in the same college, you know, let's work on the lemon metaphor here, dude. Really good. So do artists have moral obligation?
Wow. I guess the answer is no.
Yeah.
But I tend to gravitate to the artists that do have some kind of moral obligation. Yeah, I like humanist art that tries to uplift humanity in some way. Like, yeah, I don't think we need to. I don't think we need to bring any morality down. It's our morality's. There's enough dark shit in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we're going to get into that. That's you're anticipating this new suffering theme I ask about. Okay. But I wanted to throw this one in, Peter. McLuhan says everybody experiences far more than they understand. Yet it is experience rather than understanding that influences behavior. Now, you've heard me explain. I think it means if the kid comes in from the cold, the parent goes, "Don't touch the stove, you'll burn your hand." Or the parent goes, "Let me teach you the dynamics of heat. Get your hand really close to the stove, rub it, and you'll get your hands warm." And then that's called understanding. Experience is something different. And I think Marshall's sort of saying we should have understanding shaping our behavior more, but we usually have experience shaping our behavior more. Any thoughts on that? Do we have a choice, or is it too interwoven, or what?
I think it goes back to what we were saying earlier about why do humans collect information, and I was saying for understanding.
Yeah.
Because, and again, also going back to what I was saying about like, I need to reflect on things.
Yeah.
Rather than just go from one thing to the next. Because, like, for instance, with me, I'm having a lot of experience, right? And that contributes to my, like, traveling around Asia so many times contributes to my ability to keep doing that. But if I just keep having the experience, but I'm not reflecting on it, I'm not trying to understand things, then I'm going to have a less fulfilling experience, I think.
Yeah.
For example, if I go to Japan and I eat at McDonald's and Burger King all the time, I'm experiencing Japan, but I'm not having any better understanding of their culture or of the great things, the unique things that they have to offer, stuff like that. So, and I think you had asked something like, are we kind of stuck with this or whatever? I don't think so. We have
a choice.
Yeah, we have the choice to collect and reflect on our experiences, and
well, that's the question. That's the question I don't ask, but this guy led to it yesterday. It was amazing. Are we watching it happen, or are we making it happen?
Yeah, I think about that kind of thing a lot.
Yeah.
I think I think at the core of being, there are a lot of opposites, coincidence of opposites.
Yeah.
Like when you get into quantum physics, is light a wave or a particle, or is it both?
It's a wavicle.
Wavicle. Yeah. So it's like, the human mind works in a way where, especially language works in a way where something is one thing or the other. It's hard to comprehend the combination of them, but that's the beauty of things like Finnegan's Wake, where it's always combining the opposites, and laugh tears, as you know.
Yeah.
He's constantly combining opposite words. So yeah, I think, yes, we are observing everything, but our observing is also kind of creating some of the world. So yeah, it's both.
Yeah, Zappa taught me basically embrace contradiction. You know, don't fight it, embrace it, and utilize it. But that's funny because this question comes up with Alan Turing again. He said, "What we want is a machine that can learn from experience." Now, was he saying we humanity, or was he saying we scientists? But any just thoughts on that line? What we want is a machine that can learn from experience.
I mean, this is all pre-AI, so I'm not sure. I mean, like I was saying, like computers and AI and all that, it's like you're feeding it some basic information and some prompts and things like that. If you don't give it more prompts, it's just going to circle back and give you the same thing over and over again. It's not learning that, okay, I shouldn't repeat that, or okay, maybe there's more. Maybe let me add my own factors here to change things. I think that's kind of what Turing is getting at.
Yeah, because it's scary. We're invaded by Waymos in Venice. We have these cars driving around. I'm watching 3 or 4 cars go down the street, and I'm on a bicycle, and there's no driver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Austin has the same. I was just.
Guess what? They're more safe than a human driving. I'm sorry to say, I'm not going to rent a Waymo, and you know, I know they're devices to, you know, film us all the time, but there's 26 cameras on a Waymo, and there's only 2 eyes on a human. So why would I ever rent a cab or ask my friend to drive when the Waymo is going to be safer? Because
I'll answer that for you.
Okay, thank you.
Only because I have a friend. I won't say his name. I won't say any information, but he's involved with the automatic driving cars.
Yeah,
and they need a guide as they're testing these out. They do need guides because they do mess up.
Yeah. But when they mess up, then it goes into the brain, and it's not likely they'll mess up again. When our parents say, okay, I'm going to give you the keys to the car tonight, pump your brakes, it's raining, you know, remember to pump your brakes. The kid goes out, forgets to pump the brakes, gets in a crash, and then you expect the kid to have that in their head forever. It's in the head of the self-driving car forever, and all the self-driving cars.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is that I just find it an amazing phenomenon that they're smarter than the human drivers and safer. And it's hard to
again, yes and no.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, yes, but you know, there's a reason why they're only doing Waymo in certain places, like Austin, and in Austin, it's only in the center of the town where it's mostly flat and the grid is mostly pretty straightforward. They're not doing it in San Francisco with all the hills and all the weird turns and shit like that. But also, I took some Waymos, and if a human is coming to pick you up in their Uber, they could like look you in the eye and see where you're walking, and they could see, all right, let me stop here and let you in the car. The Waymo doesn't have a clue. It can't figure out. You know, it doesn't have the intuition to figure out, oh, I should go here and pick this guy up here because he's starting to walk there.
Right.
It'll circle the parking lot over and over again because it doesn't know, you know, it has to meet.
Wow. And so you mean you took Waymos a couple times and had good experiences or bad experiences?
Mostly good, but again, I was having trouble with just linking up with the car because
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. My other fun thing is I saw Waymo put their wipers on. It wasn't raining. What? There's no human there. Why do you have to clean the windshield?
Yeah, they can't see
And
out.
yeah. When I first heard about Waymos, you get locked in, and I kept telling everybody, "Oh, do you know that they lock you in?"
Yeah.
And then I googled it, and it says no, you can hit a button and it will open up, because my friend was mid intersection and the Waymo malfunctioned, and he got panicky and he went to get out of the car and he couldn't.
Yeah, the weird thing with being in the Waymos is like I've had recurring nightmares over the years that I'm in a back seat of a car with nobody else, and the driver's seat is empty, and it's like a runaway car in traffic, and like, can I get to the brakes and the steering wheel in time, kind of thing. So it's a, it's living out that nightmare, but
pre Waymo you had those.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Okay, well, that you should write that up. So I wanted to tell you one other thing with the word experience in, because you brought up silence. Like, what do you do when communication breaks down? Silence. Here's Bob Dylan. Experience teaches that silence terrifies the most. So there's your silence word and your experience word. Any thoughts on Dylan? Experience teaches that silence terrifies the most.
Yeah, I mean, it's a void, it's a vacuum that you fill that with whatever is going on. If you're anxious, if you're tense or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're with people that you know and love and understand, and you're sitting in silence, sometimes that's good. You don't it's not awkward silence, you know. And side note, I remember there's some quote from one of the biographies of Joyce of like him and maybe Beckett, that they would just have these really productive silences. Like you just sit there in silence.
Yeah.
It's like you're both just thinking, But as far as it being like a fear thing, is that what you said?
Well, that's what Dylan says, that silence terrifies the most.
Yeah. It's like outer space, like 2001 A Space Odyssey. Some of the scenes in there, like when towards the end of the movie, when the astronauts are like trying to go out and fix something in space, and how the computer is locking them out there and all that. It's silent in those scenes, right? And it's so creepy and spooky, and there's such a void.
Yeah. It's a great word, that void. That's McLuhan calls it the resonating interval, the in-betweenness. It's unknowing. It's like, that's the thing. We're all trying to know things, but how do you unknow?
Yeah.
How do you unlearn?
I will add that there's a few parts in Finnegan's Wake where it'll just be like one line that just says silence. Like there's paragraphs and paragraphs, and then a line that just says silence, or like in parentheses, silence. And my good friend Scott Rhodes, once we were talking about this, and he was saying like there's like a tradition or something where like every poem, the first part of every poem is silence.
Yeah. It's good. Yeah. And nudge Scott. I've been trying to interview him for years. I know he's a busy guy, but I'd love to interview him. So are you more afraid of new ideas or more afraid of old ideas?
Afraid of ideas? I wouldn't say I'm that afraid of ideas, but I don't know. This is a kind of a vague one. We'd have to get into examples, I think, with this kind of thing.
Yeah. Can you conjure up your earliest memory ever, or one of them?
Yeah. My early memories are like not good things. So like I got stitches on my head when I was maybe 3. My brother and I were like arguing over, we wanted to like reenact a scene in Back to the Future. And you know, in all the Back to the Future movies, there's always a scene where like Marty is being chased by Biff, and then he gets away, and Biff ends up in horse shit somehow. And we were arguing over who's going to be Marty and who's going to be Biff. And my brother just threw me into a wall and just gashed my head open. And I remember getting the stitches. I remember just screaming in agony and just like everyone having to hold me down because it was just
because they didn't numb it.
Yeah, and it was just pretty unpleasant experience. Yeah,
dude, that's exactly what happened to me. But I think I was about 8. My neighbor came over, and I was going to go to my first putt-putt golf course adventure, and he took the putter like, you know, let me try this, and he used it as a driver and just whapped me in the head and cut my head open.
Oh shit.
And then they sewed me up, and I remember screaming as they sewed me up.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's why I always say, you know, I'm crazy because I got whapped in the head early on. I got an excuse.
Yeah, I guess.
But it's funny how that came up like 2 days ago in a podcast on how everybody gets whapped in the head or some stitches in the head or stitches somewhere. Well, really good, Peter. This is fun. I appreciate your time.
I had one more, Jerry. So,
of course,
because like I've reflected on this at some point and like put it together that I remember when I first like realized that death exists and like death happens.
Yeah.
And I put it together that it would have been in 1989, so I would have been 4 years old.
Yeah.
And it was the San Francisco earthquake and seeing on the news the Bay Bridge collapse.
Yeah.
Because like I grew up in Staten Island, and there's all bridges around here. Like you're always going on bridges to get on and off the island.
Yeah.
And I guess as a kid, it never really occurred that the bridge could collapse.
Yeah.
But so I remember the instant of like seeing on the news that the bridge had collapsed and just being so horrified, like, oh my God, you could die. I could just die.
It's amazing, the whole phenomenon of death in children.
Mm-hmm.
Someone said yesterday that's why parents give their kids pets, so that they'll die and they'll experience death.
Wow.
It's like part of that ritual, maybe not 100%, but is memory more a curse or more a blessing?
Definitely a blessing. Absolutely. Yeah, I feel pretty strongly about that, I think.
Tell me someone within your immediate family who had an impact on you, and what was that impact?
Well, I have a brother who's 2 years older. I'm sitting in his old former bedroom right now. So yeah, he really influenced me a lot as a kid, and it's just like you're just always following him around and want to hang out with his friends and do what he does, listen to the music he listens to and all that. So it was definitely like that for the first like 15, 16 years of my life. Yeah. But I have 3 brothers. They all influenced me in some way. My brother John, he got me really into like comic books and like baseball. Like I was always a sports fan. My dad's a big sports guy, but my brother John got me into like studying the history and the statistics and all that. And so I've always been really interested in that stuff. And yeah, he kind of helped me develop my like intellectual perspective and things like that. We've always had really good conversations. Yeah, you can tell somebody, because you do the deep dive and you know how to research. I really look up to you in your wake research is really thorough, and I appreciate it a lot. It's like you're my big brother in regards to the wake. But same question, Peter, outside your immediate family, someone who had an impact on you, and what was that impact? Yeah, it has to be the RZA of the Wu-Tang Clan. Wow. And what age are you experiencing him? 11, 12. first.
And what you're listening on the radio, or how are you consuming Wu-Tang at 11?
My discovery of Wu-Tang was just seeing them on MTV, because like,
oh, on MTV.
Yeah, we would come home from school and watch MTV, and I remember at some point learning like these guys are from Staten Island, and
I see.
it was such a hometown thing of like, oh my God, these guys are from here. Nobody ever mentioned Staten Island. These guys are amazing, and yeah, then it was radio. You know, I'd record stuff off the radio, and eventually we would buy CDs and buy tapes and stuff. But RZA in particular, who is the like de facto leader of the Wu-Tang Clan, he always had such a emphasis on what I would call like knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and like real complex things, real complex combinations of words in his rhymes that it's just so different than anything else musically and lyrically that it would just capture my attention and try to figure out what the hell is going on. And then as I got older, I would still follow his Wu-Tang's music, RZA's music. And then like hearing his interviews, like his interviews always make me smarter, I feel like. So
amazing, because this is what I think it's Harold Bloomer. Someone said the kids in the 60s, like I was a idiot. I was raised in front of a TV. I don't know how to read very good, but I could act like I read. You know, I knew how to fill out to get straight A's in school, but I wasn't a good reader. And they said, oh, you kids boomers learned how to read by reading lyrics and songs. So that was an interesting thing I heard, because I was never really a lyric person in music. I was more the sound of the music, but somehow it was leaking through. But did you become more a literature guy pre Wu-Tang or post Wu-Tang? Like go ahead.
Post. Yeah, definitely.
So you got into lyrics like the 60s people through the music, and then you says, oh, this is lyrical content, this is words on paper.
Yeah, so I'll say a couple things. So number one, for me as like a reader, so like we're talking about tools and stuff like that, like my main tool is reading. I am surrounded by books always. I'm always reading. I keep lists of what I read, and I you know, document notes and things like that. But my initial reading for leisure or reading for pleasure as an 18, 19-year-old was like baseball or comedy, like things like lighter things like that. But then like Wu-Tang made me want to learn more about what they're saying.
Right. That's heavy.
Yeah. And then RZA published a book, the Wu-Tang Manual, in like 2005, something like that, where he would kind of give some background and explanation on the lyrics, but also he was talking about like the books that really influenced him, and that made me want to read those books and like be able to be conversant in those books. And I'm talking about like the Bible, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, like the Upanishads, like all the different like wisdom texts or religious texts. He would talk about those, and I'd be like, I want to be able to converse in those. If I meet somebody who you know, their religion is Taoism, I want to be able to say I've read the Tao Te Ching. I understand, or I know what goes on there. Or I can compare it to such and such. So that was really what started me on having a self-teaching approach in life. Like that was kind of a foundation, and it was really from RZA. And the other thing is like with lyrics, especially with Wu-Tang kind of stuff, especially their old stuff, like hearing something makes it easier to memorize. Okay. So like if I'm at work during the day and somebody says, hey, can you look up this number record, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, I say the number because saying it and hearing it makes me start to memorize it. Yeah. And the way Wu-Tang would rap sometimes is like it almost has like a fairy tale of like a fairy tale cadence to it, or a nursery rhyme cadence to it.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get into your head, but it's like so deep, you know.
Yeah.
There was a song where RZA says, I enter through the cave of your ear in a high-pitched silent tone only a dog could hear, and impregnate you with the wisdom of the woo, then your subconscious dreams become consciously true. Have you in such deep thought, your pulse and blood pressure so low your diagnosis corpse? Have an out-of-body experience, clear, no interference. Everything with physical form, lose appearance, become one with the formless. Now you feel your strongest. Escape time and lives, you'll live for the longest. Like, that kind of stuff becomes so easy to memorize, even if you're not really picking up the meaning. And then over time, you start to figure out the meaning, and become one with the formless. That's like a very Taoist kind of
heavy. That's I forgot to say when we were talking about experience and understanding, the T.S. Eliot quote, they had the experience but missed the meaning. So
Okay.
you had the experience of those lyrics, and then eventually you can have the meaning.
Right.
But you could just, because I got in this rabbit hole with Doechii, this female rapper from Tampa.
Yeah, my girlfriend loves Doechii. Yeah.
Oh my God, that thing she did on Colbert is unbelievable. She's like ballerina. She's like doing everything. And I realized, oh, she's like De La Soul. They're like playful rap.
Yeah.
And it's like what you said, nursery rhyme.
Well, the thing with Wu-Tang, going back to them, is that it's 9 of them. And so they all have a different style. They all sound different. And like my introduction to them was their song Triumph, where it's all 9 of them get a chance on this one song.
Wow.
And so, you know, as a young kid to be encountering that, it's just so, there's just so much novelty and newness and uniqueness. It's
diversity. Yeah. And that's along with sports writing, just reading baseball or whatever you're reading. One of my favorite filmmakers in the world, Craig Baldwin, you would never think he started out as high school as a sports writer. And that's where he learned how to develop metaphor. Sports writers are huge with metaphor.
Walt Whitman was a journalist for the Brooklyn Eagle before Leaves of Grass. I mean, he was writing a lot of different stuff, but he was a journalist, and he was a sports writer, that kind of thing.
That's good to know, because that helps. Whitman and Craig Baldwin and so
actually, one other thing I'll say, Jerry.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
James Joyce initially was a journalist, and I think it was when he was living in Italy. He was a journalist for an Italian newspaper, and he would get assignments. And he had an assignment to go cover like a drive, like a car race or something like that. So even Joyce was doing sports writing in a way.
Yeah. So you, in regards to religion, were you raised a particular religion?
Yeah, I was raised Catholic.
Did you check out at a certain age?
Yes, but again, kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, like Wu-Tang lyrics making me want to understand things and be conversant in things. Like I wasn't really learning about or interested in the Bible when I was getting my communion and confirmation and going to Bible school and all that. I didn't care. It bored the shit out of me. But when it's like presented in the form of hip hop and stuff like that, like Ghostface on Fourth Chamber says, why is the sky blue? Why is water wet? Why did Judas rat to Romans while Jesus slept? Like things like that. It's like it makes you want to know all the stories and all, like so at least you have that in your mind, and it helps with things like reading Finnegan's Wake or reading other authors. Like you start to notice, okay, there's the patterns here of Genesis or whatever it is, you know.
Hero with 1,000 Faces. Do you pray?
I guess so. Yeah, I guess I would say I do.
If God exists, what do you want God to say to you after you die?
All your friends that left are here.
Really beautiful.
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Another thing, because you mentioned Hero with a Thousand Faces, which is Joseph Campbell, and you're bringing up stuff with God, and I'm talking about the foundation and development of my mind and my perspective and stuff like that. So, like, when I talk to people about God and theism, atheism, whatever, I actually always come back to this Joseph Campbell quote, because like I think it's a video of him on a radio show and he's talking about this stuff, and I'll never forget it because it was like, yeah, that's my view. I agree with that. And he was saying, like, a lot of people get caught up in not understanding what a metaphor is. Okay.
Yeah.
So, because it's like, oh, people try to envision God as this man with a flowing white beard, and he's watching everything you do, and he made the 10 Commandments and all this kind of shit. And Campbell says the word God is a metaphor.
Yeah.
And it's a metaphor for that which transcends all human categories of thought, even the categories of being and non-being.
Yeah.
So we get caught up in, does God exist? Does not exist? These categories of thought are your human brain. Like, the concept of God is unfathomable. It's not to be fathomed.
It's really good, Peter. Send me that quote if you can. I would love it, because here's the one I will come back to you with that I love, because it's on my Harold Bloom page. You know, Harold Bloom was heavy into the wake. He really, and they asked him in Esquire in 2018, just before he died, do you believe in God? He says, I'm not an atheist. My attitude towards Yahweh is that I don't like him and I don't trust him and I wish he'd go away. But I know he won't, because he's built into the language. As Nietzsche said, he's part of the way we think. As soon as you use a verb involving being, you're in trouble. But I mean, he goes off on a lot there, but it's built into our language.
Yes, agree. It's built into Western language and Western perspective.
Yeah.
It's funny because, like, I'm 40 years old. I just turned 40, and like, I feel like I keep coming back to stuff from like when I was around 20 right now in this discussion. And when I was in college, I had a really good professor who introduced me to the work of Fritjof Capra.
Oh, yeah.
He wrote The Tao of Physics.
Yeah.
And so his whole thing was like, the farther Western science goes, the only way to express the concepts are through like Eastern mythology.
Oh, wow.
Like Taoism, like yin and yang, or like Indra's net, which is an idea from Hinduism.
Well, that's the beauty of Alan Watts. I've listened to him for 30 years every Sunday morning. Is he's a Brit who brought Eastern philosophy to America as a stand-up comedian.
Yes.
What better way to consume it? Yeah.
Alan Watts is phenomenal. Big fan.
Yeah. And that was really good, because I want to, right now propose, when we end in 30 minutes or so, we plan a part 3, because this is part of a 22-part Netflix series. It can never end. It's really a pleasure. And so, but I have this new deep dive into what's the difference between art and science. And, you bringing up just the word science. But the next question is, do evil people exist, or does evil use people as a vehicle?
Oh man, I guess it's both. I think.
But the hidden question really, and you can get deeper now, is how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? And I'll set it up. Alan Watts says, if you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them. Coppola stole from the mob and the samurai. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. JFK said, forgive your enemy, but don't forget their name. And Fellini says, I need an enemy. And since you brought up Whitman says, I no doubt deserve my enemies. That's like, what?
Whitman's something else.
Man. How do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? If someone says, hey, Peter, I'm being bullied, what do you say? What advice would you give them? But first, what would you say to Alan Watts? If you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them.
I think some of your quotes there are like totally different aspects or totally different views on enemies, I think.
Oh yeah. Well, thanks for listening. Most people, it's just it's overwhelming what I say, too many, because they do contradict themselves. But yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, just to start off on the Alan Watts, if you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them.
Yeah, if you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them because it's occupying too much energy in your mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a person just walking past you and you ignore him, whatever. A person walking past you like, that's my enemy. Where's he going? What's he doing? It's like you're using too much brain energy. You're giving them too much power. You're giving yourself over to them. So that's my answer to the Alan Watts one. The Francis Ford Coppola one of like, keep your friends close, enemies closer. My view on that one has over the years kind of changed, I guess, because like for me with so-called enemies, I usually want to go right at them. I don't mean like go right at them and punch in the face. I mean like, are we enemies? Let's talk. What's the problem here? Like, let's hash it out.
Lay the cards on the table.
Yeah. And what was the other one?
Well, the third one is Kennedy. Forgive them, but don't forget their name.
John F. Kennedy?
Yes, John F. Kennedy. Yeah, you got to make it clear. JFK. Yeah, but that's a complex one too, because is forgiveness the key? Some people go, no, forgiveness. I think it's Mark Twain saying, forgiveness is the smell the flower gives off when the foot steps on it. So I mean, it is like, are you a better person to forgive? Well, that's a hard one.
Yeah, I guess I'm pretty big on forgive, but don't forget, or just I forgive everything, but I often don't forget things.
And then that's your burden. I mean, I'm the same way. That has nothing to do with them. They're not going to change, even if they did, and they never say they're sorry. It's your burden. You're carrying it.
Yeah. Also, though, I just was thinking, like, as far as keep friends close, enemies closer, it's like you can, if you channel that energy in a healthy way, you could make something productive of it. So, like, if you're mad at somebody, if you consider them your enemy, they wronged me in this way, you could put all that energy into hating that person, or you could put energy into, I'm going to be the best person I could possibly be. I'm going to live life so full that I will completely forget whatever the hell that issue was. What is it? The best revenge is to live well.
Yeah. And American Indians, natives, indigenous say your enemy's your best teacher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, if you can process that and come out, but I mean, Fellini says, I need an enemy. That's interesting. But I mean, your friend comes to you, Peter, I'm being bullied. What would you say? What would you tell him to do, or any advice?
I mean, it's funny because I have definitely gone through bullying in different ways. Like, mostly in offices. Like I've worked in offices my whole adult life. And I've occasionally had people they just hate me for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Mainly I've always tried to just be like, just that's your problem. Like that's not my problem. If you have this animosity or whatever, like good for you. Go deal with that. Like I'm not going to let it affect my day.
Wow.
But it takes a while to get that kind of perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm remembering things that I haven't thought about in a while now, of like actual enemies in offices and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, I gave a few answers. One of them is like,
yeah,
try to talk to your enemy. It might turn out you guys are actually friends. You might turn out there's a lot you recognize in that person.
Yeah.
But if somebody is really just bullying you and it's like inescapable and all that, I think it's hard. But the best, two things. Number one, try not to let it get to you. Try to just have a shield, of some kind of psychological shield that you're safe within. Or if it gets bad enough, I am a believer in go straight at them. Whatever, however you got to do. Like, one thing I've really gotten into in my adult life is like, when you're really afraid of something, that means you got to go right into that.
That's amazing. That's courageous. That's like Joyce also said, it's a curious thing how your mind is super saturated in the religion in which you say you disbelieve.
Right.
So if you can't shake that, you should address it, because it's like, But this is the follow-up, Peter. Nassim Taleb said games were created to give non-heroes the illusion of winning. In real life, we don't know who wins or loses, but we can tell who a hero is. My friend said villains don't think they're bad. They want control. Heroes want freedom. And Gregory Bateson said, when the criminal gets caught, does he go, whoa, my criminal skills weren't up to snuff that day? Or does he go, oh, I did something morally and socially wrong? So it's a lot of prompts that goes all over the place. But the basic question is, does punishment work? Or what do we do about this thing? You know, accountability, rehabilitation, punishment, you know.
I guess I kind of have more of a sympathetic view to this kind of thing. Like I remember reading about, I think it was Timothy Leary, who did an experiment with inmates and like people who just got out of prison. And I think there was some kind of psychedelic experiment, not just giving them psychedelics, but like giving them psychedelics and then meditations and like, I don't know, reading certain kind of books and things like that. And that it like completely dropped the recidivism rate for them.
Yeah.
Basically, I think like there's a lot of different directions I can go with this, Jerry. But I don't know. I have a pretty sympathetic view of people. Like I said, I try to forgive things.
Yeah.
And I accept that, you know, it's not easy being a human being in this world. And a lot of people have trauma that is not their fault and they don't know how to deal with it. They've never properly dealt with it. And so they give off more trauma and create more trauma out there. But I'm also thinking about what we were saying earlier about are there evil people? Does evil exist or whatever? Yeah. And like, you know, Nietzsche says there are no moral phenomena, only moral interpretation of phenomena.
Yeah.
I don't actually agree with that. I mean, I agree with it as a philosophical statement or whatever, but as a human being, like we are what we are. We are existing in our flesh, and we are in a society of other humans, and we're on the planet Earth. We can't deny those things. So if we are promoting or acting on evil impulses that are doing destruction to our fellow humans, doing destruction to ourselves, that is, to me, that's inherently evil.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about this stuff a lot because, you know, there's a lot of war going on. There's a lot of shit going on in the world.
Yeah.
And like the Gaza genocide and starvation and all that shit. Like I have friends who are Palestinian. I have friends who are Israeli. And like seeing mass killing, mass starvation, all this kind of stuff because of boundaries or because of ideology, religion, whatever the fuck. It's just so ridiculous because like when you think about if I go walk outside and I see somebody got hit by a car, am I going to say they might be a Trumper? I'll just leave them to die.
Yeah.
Or if an Israeli person says they might be a Palestinian, they might be Hamas, I'm just going to leave them to die. No,
Yeah.
you have this instinctual thing to run over there and try to help the person.
Yeah.
Try to stop the bleeding or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
Anything else that gets in between is, you know, it's just details.
Yeah. It's humanity. We're more hardwired to cooperate and help each other than we are to fight.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree.
Yeah. That's my whole essay, Can Art Stop War? Is that Finnegan's Wake is a manifesto for nurturing cooperation and not using military as a conflict resolution. You don't have to resolve conflict with military. Should either you're going to even think about it, should be the last thing you think about. You know?
Right.
But this leads perfectly into Joyce. He was the first projectionist in Dublin 100 years ago, Volta Cinema. Allegedly, he checked out because he said, "This is stupid. Why should I go inside a building and see a movie of a tree when I can go outside and see a real tree?" And years later, Faulkner said, "Sometimes the best fiction is more true than journalism." Why do we have to recreate things in order to get them? Why do we have to go to a theatrical play of people acting out life? Why don't we just live life?
Yeah, I think it goes back to something we were talking about earlier, which is defamiliarization.
Yeah.
When things in life are when a frame is put around something,
Yeah.
it just makes you look at it differently, or when you see it recreated somewhere, it becomes an object of contemplation rather than something you take for granted or something that you already have a programmed response to. Yeah, I mean, I could go on, but I'll leave it at that.
No, that's good because it's basically, let's get into your history of reading Joyce and writing about him. Where's your tipping point where you really became a hardcore Joycean? You know, you're reading all these people, you know, you start getting into literature after Wu-Tang's lyrics. Where did you start with Joyce? And then where did you start with writing about Joyce? Those two tipping points.
It's interesting because you mentioned Wu-Tang, and what actually happened was I was on a Wu-Tang forum for years, and at some point, 2006 maybe, I was mentioning, because there's parts of the forum where you're not talking about music, you're talking about books or whatever, and I was like I was writing something comparing Taoism to Islam and how the similarities there. I mean, Islam means peace. Taoism is about like going with the flow, basically living in harmony with the universe. And somebody said, you should check out Joseph Campbell. Because it's like you seem to be interested in this hybrid of different cultures. So that's how I got into Joseph Campbell. And then I have this thing where I get obsessed with writers and thinkers, and I have to read every book they wrote. I have to find all the information, right? And so I read all of Campbell's books, and Campbell writes a lot about James Joyce. I didn't know who James Joyce was until reading about him in Joseph Campbell. And then I eventually got to Campbell's Skeleton Key.
Yeah.
Right? And he also has a book called Mythic Worlds, Modern Words, which goes through all of Joyce's work. And so that was really what turned me into made me interested in Joyce. But it was maybe a couple more years before I tried to actually read Joyce's work directly. I was always intimidated by it, like everybody is, you know. And then I read Portrait. I read Dubliners. I read Portrait. Loved them. I was like compelled to write about them.
But let's stop there for a second, Peter. Were you writing? First of all, were there other authors you were getting any deep delves into, or was that the first guy you're reading a lot about a lot of things, but were there classic literature people that you were reading before Campbell and Joyce?
Classic literature? No, not really.
No, just, yeah, or any, like David.
I was interested in Carl Sagan because I'm really interested in astronomy.
Yeah.
So I read a lot of Carl Sagan. I mentioned Fritjof Capra. I was reading a lot of Fritjof Capra.
But none of these were fiction, really.
I've never really been that into fiction. And like even with Joyce, his stuff is fictional, but it's so much about real places and real life and real history.
Yeah.
And as much as I love Joyce's stuff, I also love the criticism and the study of, you know, literary criticism, which is not fiction. So
then were you ever writing about sports or about Wu-Tang? Did you start your writing career on those forums?
Yeah, I guess kind of. Yeah. And then I always write in notebooks, like I said. And at some point I was dating this girl who she was really encouraging me as a writer, and like her parents were artists. So she was like, she kind of knew how to talk to people who are struggling with their creativity or whatever. So she really insisted that I start a blog. And then I started the blog.
That's the building one?
A Building Rome. Yeah.
What year are you starting that?
I think 2009.
But that wasn't about Joyce. That was just writing about a lot of things.
Oh, it was my interests, literature, baseball, hip hop. But yeah, Joyce was involved. Yeah. I was already into Joyce in 2009.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I started that blog, and then my thing with writing is that if something doesn't exist, I want to write it. Like if I'm looking to read something and it doesn't exist, then I gotta write it.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'd write about. I was writing about what I was reading about Joyce, and at that time there wasn't that much online about Joyce. Now there's plenty, but in 2009, 10 there wasn't that much. So I was writing about Portrait. I was writing about Ulysses, and I had read Portrait. I read Ulysses, and then I was like I didn't seem like I could handle the wake. And actually that's when we started talking, because I went to your group in Venice.
What year?
I think I first went to your group in 2009.
2009, yeah. Cool.
So,
but are you then saying I'm going to write for blog, and you're not saying I'm writing for college courses or anything? This is just writing for yourself and reading for yourself. You're not taking any literature classes or
No, I have a business degree in school. I didn't really get to do anything like that. I had one writing class, and I mentioned that professor who put me onto some books, and he was really good at making you think critically and question your own writing, question your own ideas. But yeah, when I was first writing, it was just for the blog. I was involved in it's called Baseball Prospectus, which is like a baseball journalism and stats conglomerate, and they put out a book every year, and they have writers, and I was involved with them years ago, and they would give me acknowledgments in their books, but I never got to actually write a full piece for them. So like I considered my blog to be like warm up to like something bigger. And I have published some things here and there with a byline. I published like music reviews. I did publish some baseball stuff at blogs over the years. And then eventually it started to branch out. And then I started a whole different blog for Finnegan's Wake because I got so obsessed with it, and I was writing about it all the time. And again, it was like I want to read about this. It doesn't exist. I guess I'll have to write it.
Yeah. What's that blog called again?
It's Finnegan's Wake, Finnegan's comma Wake, exclamation point.
Right. And that started what year?
2012.
2012. Okay, let's talk about that writing for a second here. Can you go a little longer or you got to go in 5 minutes?
Yeah, we can go longer.
Okay. A screenwriting teacher told me great art is when you can clearly see the intention of the maker. Kubrick says the opposite. Great art is when you can clearly not see the intention of the maker. When you're writing one of your essays on Joyce, what role does intention play in your creative process?
I mean, for me, I'm trying to write with great clarity.
Yeah.
And like guide you through my way of thinking. I always like to I like to draw connections between things. So I'm always writing very intentionally and really trying to make things clear and bring you along step by step. I mean, you mentioned Kubrick and these guys. I totally appreciate that high artistic poetry, that kind of thing. You are trying to hide the intention. You're hiding the scaffolding, and I like that stuff.
You know, this guy told me it's actually Chris Fuller. He's in the New York Wake. He just did the Shakespeare thing, and we've done 2 podcasts. We're going to do a third, and he taught me one thing I'll never forget. He said he heard that consciousness is a stowaway on a boat, and we're driving the boat, and we think we're driving the boat, but really the stowaway is driving the boat, and we don't even know that.
Yeah.
And that's consciousness. So that's, anyways, this is funny because the following question, Peter, is Duchamp, who was hanging with Jim Joyce in Paris same time. There's no art without an audience. How much are you thinking of your reader when you're writing your articles, your essays on Joyce?
Well, as I said, I do usually write with intention to kind of guide the reader through my thinking and guide them through these connections. I don't want the reader to ever lose the train of thought. If they're reading it straight through, I want it all to make sense and there not to be a gap where they're like, wait, what's the connection here? Or, this is not flowing. He just did an abrupt change here. So I guess I do think about my audience a lot when I'm writing. On the other hand, as I said, usually what inspires me to write is I want to read this thing and it doesn't exist. So I'm kind of writing it for myself.
Yeah.
And I'm finding lately, the last few years, like I'm not writing as much publicly anymore. I still write a lot. It's just for me. Like I have notebooks full of stuff that's kind of just for me. Maybe at some point it'll be in an essay, but
yeah,
I feel like I do write a lot just for myself. Because back to that question earlier, like that's kind of how I think is getting everything on paper.
One of the greatest experimental filmmakers, Bruce Conner, said that exact thing. He says, I didn't see anyone else make this kind of film, so I says, well, I'm going to make it. And it's very unique. I mean, you've seen, if you ever saw Devo's music video for Mongoloid, that was made by Bruce Conner, and he's really highly regarded. And it's always impressed me that he said that. Well, I didn't see it. I'm going to do it. What an incentive. So this one is McLuhan saying everything we invent extends some humanness or human sensorium. Knife and fork extends the teeth. Shutter in a camera or projector extends the eyelid. Maybe even non-tangible, say religion or philosophy, extends consciousness. What does the writing utensil extend for you? That pen you use, what humanness does it extend?
I guess it's got to be the brain. It's got to be.
Yeah.
The neurons in the brain. Yeah.
So now,
Also,
go ahead.
also with writing is therapeutic too, because you might be carrying some stuff around your head, stressing you out or weighing on you or whatever, and sometimes you write it down and the weight is gone.
Yeah. And that's like resolving conflict. I always say, write the email, but don't send it.
Yeah. So sometimes what I'll do is like get a piece of paper, fill it up front and back with all the craziness, and just rip it up.
Yeah. But it's that therapeutic idea. Yeah. So now those three questions, Peter, in your studies of Joyce, what role did intention play in his creative process writing The Wake? And you can apply it to all his work, but we're kind of.
Yeah, the crazy thing with The Wake is that when somebody initially looks at it, it just looks like gibberish that somebody was just like, let me just write some crazy sounds and mess with words here. But as John Bishop says in his intro to, I think, one of the Penguin editions of The Wake, it's the most intentionally crafted work of art in the 20th century. Because you could see the genetics they call it, where like you could see his notebooks. He would write something and then change it, expand on it. Like you could see the intention of him adding to it. And he also said at some point, I could justify every word in here.
Yeah.
I don't know that I believe that, but also
that's also this thing, PR. All that. I mean, I love that you, just to stay on that for a second, that Joyce can say this. So like, I got deep into that article that Peter Criss wrote of all the things Joyce kind of inventoried, all the things Joyce said he was doing in The Wake.
Right.
We read a couple of them last night, and then how much is that self-promotion, him thinking out loud, and how much do we hold those things to him saying, well, you said this, because the big one was when the New York Times wrote the article about the Venice Wake, and I says, well, Joyce told us to read it out loud, and she goes, well, where's your source? I goes, that's your job. And then she put in the article, he allegedly said it. Remember that? In the New York Times, she wrote, Joyce allegedly said you're supposed to read it out loud. And we knew he had actually said it. And in the Peter Criss article, it tells you right where Joyce said it. It tells you the exact wording.
Yeah, I got you there. But also a lot of the stuff, and including what from Peter Criss piece, I love Peter Criss blog.
Yeah.
I also look at it all the time, and it's a great resource. But there's a lot of secondhand quotes from Joyce. Like there's a great book called Portraits of the Artist in Exile. Yeah. So while Joyce was in Europe and he's hanging out with his friends and everything, he was reported to have said these things, but you don't have him on a tape recording saying it. It's not his wife relaying it or something. It's his friends. It might be years later. I'm not denying the veracity of these things.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Yeah, here's the one I found it. Joyce to William Byrd, who recalled it in a 1954 letter to Ellman. Joyce, it's all so simple. If anyone doesn't understand a passage, all he need do is read it aloud. Now, I should have had that. Okay, just go there. There it is. There's the source. And then she wouldn't have had to put the word allegedly, because we knew it was like, what's that word allegedly there for? I loved him. But the intention is to not be clear so that we will learn what language does to us. So, that there's a lot of intentions that Joyce might have had writing The Wake, and he he would never be able to articulate them all, and all of us who study it could never articulate them all. But I mean, overall, what do you think his intention was?
What do I think Joyce's intention was with Finnegan's Wake?
Yeah.
I am partial to the perspective of Benjamin Boyson, who you've also interviewed. He wrote an amazing book called The Ethics of Love and the Works of James Joyce.
Yeah.
He talks about in that book, like, Finnegan's Wake, it's a gift. It's a gift. It's meant to give you joy.
Yeah.
Whether you're searching for joy by finding meaning,
yeah,
and like breaking down a page and finding, oh wow, there's all these historical references and all these languages and all this poetry, and it all connects and it all blah blah blah. Or you read it out loud and it just sounds funny and ridiculous and you laugh. Or you just look at it and it's just like, what the hell is this? This is so
amazing. Yeah. Benjamin really nailed it. That's good. Ethics of Love. What's the rest of the title of the book?
I just think it's called James Joyce and the Ethics of Love.
Oh, James Joyce and the that's beautiful.
Yeah, he goes through all of Joyce's work in that book and shows that he thinks the running theme throughout is basically is like love in a universe where, he like post-God universe, so to speak. Yeah. Like we're not in a world where everybody's religious and everybody's getting their fulfillment from religion. So in that world, Joyce is showing that love is, the ultimate thing.
Yeah. No, that's really beautiful. And now the second question. There's no art without an audience. How much was Joyce thinking of his reader when he was writing The Wake? Your guess, your intuition, your impulse.
Well, when you say thinking of the reader, it's like there's an implication that like what I was describing with my writing of like, I want to guide the reader step by step. I don't want you to get lost, whatever.
Yeah.
I think Joyce doesn't care if you get lost. He wants you to get lost in the labyrinth and wander in the maze and all that, but he is thinking about the reader always, I think. It's like the things, the machinery and the magic that's going on in The Wake, it's impossible without the reader. For example, let's say Joyce didn't die right after Finnegan's Wake was published, and he like went on a book tour and would read it out loud and be like, "Oh, here's what all these things mean. Here's what this means. Here's what I was thinking with this." That would be really cool, and that would give a lot of value and enhance our understanding of his life and his views and all that. But I think he wanted it to be something where the reader is an active participant. Yeah, like that's a big part of what he was doing in that book. We mentioned earlier, like the dichotomy of wave particle duality. Yeah, in modern physics, how observing something actually changes it. Yeah, I think Joyce was cognizant of that and interested in that. And like.
Quantum entanglement. I mean, there's nothing more quantumly entangling than The Wake.
Right. And it's like each time you dip into it, it's different. It's like you never step in the same river twice. You never read and get the same experience of Finnegan's Wake or one page of it twice.
It's like it's our mantra to keep talking. So a couple more, Peter, and we're out of here. But I said for years, inspired by Bob, Joyce invented the internet and disguised it as a book. And, I love how Maddie constantly brings that up and finds new things, because it's like Joyce invented AI and disguised it as a book. And my new one is Joyce invented blotter acid and disguised it as a book. And then I updated it last night. I said Joyce invented gummies and disguised them as a book. So what is your thoughts on the extension of the writing utensil? What humanness was Joyce extending? Was it the same as yours, the brain, or was it something different, you think?
Yeah, I think it's a combination for Joyce, because there's so many different ways to appreciate the wake.
Yeah.
You could just hear it. If you just want to hear it, it's interesting that way. So I guess it's extending both the mouth and the ear.
Yeah.
But if you want to read it out loud a lot, it's a obstacle course to try to, it's a tongue twisters and stuff like that. It's hard to keep up with the terrain of the language. Also the eye, like Joyce is going blind.
Yeah.
And he made a text that does not look like any other text. You can look at one page of the wake and be like, nothing else looks like that. Also memory.
Yeah.
I think Joyce was putting a lot of memory into the wake, a lot of his own memories. Like my essay that's maybe coming out next year about Vico Road. There's so much to Vico Road, but part of it is just his own memory of that place.
Really good, Peter, because when I ask filmmakers, what does the movie extend? What humanness? They go, I, memory, a lot of the words you just said. McLuhan said, oh, movies extend your foot because you travel. And I mean, that's what we're on a magic carpet ride when we're reading the wake. It's extending our foot too. It's extending all five senses.
True.
And hearing, my favorite is Marcin, that architect in Toronto.
Yeah.
My favorite is, if you could ask Joyce any question, what would you ask him? He says, I'd walk alongside a river with him and ask him what he's hearing. Right. That to me is amazing. Okay, I probably asked you this in our salon, and I appreciated you being there. How much percentage do you get the wake, and how much percentage did Joyce get the wake?
I'll just mention first of all that after I went to Ireland and traveled around Ireland and spent time in Dublin, the wake made 10 to 20% more sense.
More, yeah.
Yeah, because you recognize a Dublin reference or street or district on every page, or you see an Ireland or an Irish reference on every page that I didn't perceive otherwise. But I would say, how much do I get the wake? 20%, 15%.
Oh, my God. And how much did Joyce get it?
I would say something high, like 90%.
90, good. Yeah, because I would say right off the bat, you get it 80 to 90 because you're exploring it. That is the essence of the wake. Getting it is a funny word. But I have to thank Maddie also, because she think was the one who turned me on to the Sweeney's reading group. And I know you've been there at Sweeney's.
I've been there in person, yeah.
Yeah, and in the amazing, Brian was there last couple months. He was there reading, and it really transforms you. Like, I know Brian from his room in Austin, and then I'm seeing him in that room in Sweeney's, because I go religiously every Tuesday. It's really just me, Duncan, and this other guy, and then the 10 people in the pharmacy. And the amazing thing is you see the pharmacy door and you see the traffic going by. Yeah. So these people walk up, they read, and you're still seeing the life of Dublin go on in the background.
It's in a busy area. It's
a phenomenal experience to read that every Tuesday. It's so huge for me. And so 2 more questions, Peter. I appreciate your time here and all you do. If McLuhan says all words are metaphorical, what's the word literal a metaphor for?
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, all words are metaphors because, I mean, a metaphor means to carry across. That's all.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's like, to carry across what? What's the threshold? Right?
Yeah.
The threshold is between, I don't know, I guess it's either between the signified and the signifier, you know, what you're saying versus what you're representing, or the gap between who's communicating and who's receiving the information. So the word literal, I don't have an answer for you other than to just keep saying things that are coming to my head. So like,
no, that's all right, because I want to feed you too, because it's something we can talk about more next time. Is one person, I mean, most people kind of laugh and they kind of try. It's hard. It's a hard question in a way, but it's studying the word literal. They said it's a metaphor for letter, letter. That was a really heavy one, because it's like you're putting something down on paper and it means that it's for real, kind of. That's what I got from them saying letter.
Yeah,
and then
that makes sense.
Yeah, and then this guy I met in the bookstore, you would have loved him. I'm going to have him on my podcast, and he's mainly a writer of tennis. So he interviewed David Foster Wallace, but he knows literature really well, and he's a big Joan Didion, and he kind of poo-pooed Finnegan's Wake, but he's well aware of Joyce and all great literature. This is if what is literal a metaphor? But he goes light. Light.
I like that.
Which is heavy, because LITE, light, is, you know, words evoke more in their meaning. And
okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're reminding me now of, again, I keep coming back to John Bishop.
Yeah.
His amazing Joyce's Book of the Dark.
Yes.
About Finnegan's Wake, which is one of my all-time favorite books, and I've read that thing until my text fell apart. I've written reviews of it online. I could check that out. But anyway, he, in that book, talks about the etymological relationship between words like photo, right? Photo is light, and like phonetics, phony, these things that basically mean like words and language.
Yeah.
So there is this like deep connection. So one of the amazing things that Joyce does for you is it turns you get enough into Finnegan's Wake and Joyce, you'll become an etymological archaeologist.
Yeah.
Where you try to find things about the history of humanity, the history of the human brain through etymology. And that's what Bishop is showing with this connection between photo and phonetics, is like it's somewhere deep in our past, deep in our mind, is this idea that speaking something like creates a light, or it's illuminating whatever you're saying. It's like giving some kind of light.
Presence. Presence. It makes it present. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's back to the Hollis Frampton film on the lemon. It's like you see this lemon. It's not flat on a movie screen. It's not a 3D movie, but it's almost like he's giving you a 3D movie in a medium that's not 3D.
Right.
It's like when we go, have you gone to the Sphere yet in Vegas?
Mm-mm.
You know about it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So anyways, 2 things you evoked there. And then the last question, that's matching and making. And that's what McLuhan talks about, matching and making. Are we watching it happen, or are we making it happen? Are we just regurgitating the same old stuff, or are we creating something new? Matching and making. And in music, it's like Susie, she's not a retro Bessie Smith. She's rooted in Bessie Smith. So it's like Joyce isn't retro Vico, Shakespeare, Dante. He's rooted in them. He's not regurgitating him. He's reinventing them. Like Marshall said, the point is to invent new questions and new metaphors. So that what you said about John Bishop was truly enlightening for me, Peter. Thank you, because it reminded me of Eric McLuhan saying the word fake, F-A-K-E, and the word fact, F-A-C-T, are both rooted in the Latin to make. They're both making.
Like manufacture. Yeah.
Yeah. So how has your deep dive into Finnegan's Wake shaped your behavior?
How has my deep dive into Finnegan's Wake shaped my behavior? Well, I mean, obviously, I've written a lot about the Wake. Like I can't help it. I just have so much. It sparks so much thought and so much. Again, I like to put connections together. It sparked, like Joyce said at some point, I have a grocer's assistant's mind. Meaning, like, he just wants to organize lists and stuff like that. I can't help it. I'm the same way. I've always been that way.
Yeah.
So it just appeals to my mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, how has it shaped my behavior? It's made me, I mean, I've been reading The Wake now for, God, like 12 years, 13 years or something. It's just made me like constantly dedicated to the study of poetry and the study of metaphor and language and etymology and these things that we're talking about. Yeah. And it's like, it's endlessly fulfilling. I never get tired of it. I wake up in the morning excited about, I mean, I got to do my job and all that kind of stuff, but like you get out of bed in the morning because you're happy about something. You're excited to live. And like, for me, it's so much about poetry, and it's so much about, like, we talked about silence and these like pockets, things like that. It's what cannot be said, what cannot be captured, trying to say what can't be said, trying to it's like an alchemy of opposites, like giving words to the unspoken, or I don't know. If we're going to close soon, I could actually read something that I think summarizes it.
Good. Go ahead, please.
I've been so obsessed with Herman Melville for a while now.
Yeah.
And yes, but his novels, sure. Moby Dick is great. Pierre is amazing. I've read some of his earlier novels, but he doesn't get enough credit as a poet. He was an incredible, incredible poet.
Wow.
And his poetry is not that dated. Like usually poetry from the 19th century, except for like Whitman and Emily Dickinson, it's like it could read as kind of dated, but Melville translates really well. And so I'll just read this short poem real quick. It's called Art. And it talks about a lot of what we're talking about, of combining opposites to create art. Okay.
Yeah.
He says, in placid hours well pleased, we dream of many a brave unbodied scheme, but form to lend, pulsed life to create, what unlike things must meet and mate, a flame to melt, a wind to freeze, sad patience, joyous energies, humility, yet pride and scorn, instinct and study, love and hate, audacity, reverence, these must mate and fuse with Jacob's mystic heart to wrestle with the angel, art.
Wow. That is so good. Got to come to Venice, and they read Moby Dick for 2 days right along the beach. It's amazing, 6-8 hour day of people reading. That was a beautiful poem, man. Thank you for reading that. And again, that's something we can get into, much deeper, is poetry. There's a science and art. And the other one, Peter, is what Decio has really spawned in me, is the study of ear as time and eye as space.
Right.
There's so many variations on that just sparks this whole thing,
Yeah. That's from Proteus and Ulysses. Yeah.
And so the other summary, you've heard it a million times, but what you encapsulated a lot with reading the Melville poem, and what you were saying, how the wake shaped your behavior. Because I love John Gordon. I says, how has studying the wake shaped your behavior? And he says, camaraderie. I made friends.
Of course.
And that's what I appreciate. That guy who wrote Tennis, and he said light. He said something similar. We were talking all these intellectual, and he goes, yeah, have you ever read The Pound Era? And I immediately thought of you when at Marina Del Rey Library. He says, yeah, the book you should read is Pound Era. Like I've got it on my shelf. I've never read it, but Peter actually went and read it,
Hugh Kenner.
Yeah, Hugh Kenner. So here's the line that Marshall said that I think sort of summarizes a lot what you were saying, is, dedicated to studying poetry and this endlessly fulfilling. Joyce uses the pun as a way of seeing the paradoxical exuberance of being through language.
That's it.
That being.
Paradoxical.
Yeah, the paradoxical exuberance of being. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much, Peter. I love you, and I appreciate your time and energy. And I know this will never end, even though I'm going to hit the end broadcast button now.
Thank you so much, Jerry.
Thanks, Peter. All right, man. Bye.
Take care.